In the 18th century North America, where the vast land stretched as far as the eye could see, a tale unfolds, the one that echoed through history but remained hidden in the mist of time. The clash of incredible strength of the Comanche, a formidable Native American tribe, planned an attack that would challenge and destroy the Spanish colonies. Join us as we unfold the never-told story of the Comanche tribe, their resilience, their bravery, and their strength. Are you ready to unravel the mystery? If you like to hear untold stories, subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, hit that like button. Let us go back in time over 3 centuries ago. The world was constantly changing due to countries colonizing each other and uprooting the indigenous customs and language in the name of civilizing them. On the sunny days, the Comanche warriors on their horseback set out with an aim to invade the colony called Mission. They were the foreign settlers in Native American land. So, on the day of the attack, the Mission in their slumber sleep was jolted awake by the missing of all their 62 horses. It was expensive back then, but also valuable to them, as they were the means of transport. But who were the Comanche tribe? Who was least afraid of the repercussions of the attack on a much larger enemy like the Spanish? Comanche was a Native American tribe that originally lived in the Great Plains of North America. They were known for their exceptional horsemanship and skills in warfare. The conflict between the Comanche and the Spanish primarily occurred in the 18th century as European powers, including Spain, expanded their power into North America. The Spanish sought to establish control over the territories they explored, like all colonizers. This sometimes brought them into conflict with the native people. In this case, they had a bad relationship with the Comanche. Back 3 centuries ago, when the lands were being fought over, the Comanche made sure they were being feared by their enemy. As the Spanish soldiers ventured into the northern stretches of the Spanish claim, they soon realized that this was no ordinary mission. The Comanche was a force to be reckoned with. Diego Ortiz Parilla, who was in the nearby Spanish stronghold, dispatched 15 soldiers to hunt down the Native American tribe responsible for this act. But it was a failure. In search of petty thieves, they found hundreds of Comanche, the lords of the southern plain. The clash between the Spanish and the Comanche was unavoidable. The foolish missionaries did not heed the warning bells. They went on to live in the same land with the belief that no harm would fall upon them. But they couldn't be more wrong. Their faith was tested 2 weeks later on March 16, 1758, when the morning mass was disturbed by a cry. It was not normal shouting before revenge or anger, but a war cry. It was given by 2,000 Comanche warriors and their allies. They were scary in appearance, with faces painted with black and red, and armed with muskets, bows, and lances. They broke into the colony and left it in total chaos. The aftermath was tragic and heart-wrenching. If warriors' brutality and strength were tales, then in that colony they proved those tales and more. The haunting brutality imposed in the colony was unimaginable. Altars were draped with headless corpses, shattered statues, and scalpless. Naked friars were scattered amongst the embers, painting a gruesome picture. The mission established in North America was possible due to Father Toreros, but he was a stubborn person. After years of warning of the attack from the tribe, he did not move, so he had to face the consequence of his decision that morning, March 16, 1758. The father saw the majestic Comanche. They were all shorter than their counterparts in the northern plain. They wore no ornament other than buffalo horns as headdresses and were smeared in black because it was the color of death. Rightly so, because what happens next would be most harshest form of tragedy. There was a weird sense of peace, like every morning is bound to be. The sunlight hits the earth, which is just warm and right. The birds are chirping, and the air is cool. This environment made the father too comfortable to get the idea that there is some hope for peace. The presiding chief of Comanche accepted the greeting and trinkets, momentarily suspending the looming violence. In the blink of an eye, the illusion was shattered, and the tranquility gave way to chaos. Father Toreros, by a stroke of luck, fell to a musket shot and spare to the horror of waiting for others. The other priests, once spiritual leaders, now lay fatally shot, hacked, stripped, and mutilated. The survivors took refuge in small buildings, a last form of rebellion. The Comanche and their hatred of the settlers showed no restriction with their violence. They slaughtered livestock, ransacked buildings, and set fires that burned till the night. But they still had some enemies to fight. The soldiers from the nearby Presidio were determined to intervene and do justice for the dead. The Comanche's wrath was unbeatable, leaving the Presidio inhabitants under the weight of destruction. For 3 long days, the survivors had to see the gruesome attacks and watch Father Ferrero's vision come to an end. Only 10, including 3 priests, remained with torn, bloodied, eyes vacant, tongues silenced, and scalps turned as trophies. Colonel Perea, in an attempt at revenge, sends out soldiers. He kept some of them in the Presidio to protect the 300 women and children. It was all in vain. Most did not live to see the day. All 8 soldiers were injured and 2 were killed. Other soldiers had at least been hit with 1 arrow or stabbed. The colonel, in anger, decided to track them down. The colonel petitioned for more soldiers for this mission. It was a feeble and underfunded attempt at tracking the Comanche, but he failed to know the land that he was familiar with was the homeland of the Comanche. They have lived and died there, so they know their home like the back of their hand. It would be impossible to attack them in their homeland or even find them. It was exactly what happened. The Comanche disappeared in the north, leaving behind a scarred and desolate landscape. But this was not the end. A year later, an army of 600 men, a mix of Spanish regular, militiamen, Apache, and indigenous Mexicans, marched under Colonel Parrilla's command. They led a journey to a Tonkawa village. Even though they did not find any Comanche, they destroyed the village. They did this until they stumbled upon their aim. They saw a massive indigenous alliance of Wichita, Comanche, and others. A fierce battle started by Comanche being in the lead, showing unparalleled skills on the battlefield. Colonel Parrilla's focus was lost, as they were bound to be in the end. They were left battered and humiliated. They retreated. But the Comanche did not. The Spanish got what they wanted to give to the Comanche: destruction. Comanche started to reprise the Spanish settlement on the fringe of New Mexico and Texas. They strike with systematic raids and leave devastation in their wake. Amidst this conflict, Juan Bautista de Lanza led Spanish missions against the Comanche, marking years of reciprocal bloodshed. Eventually, the peace treaties were written. This proved that the Comanche were not ordinary and were not to be reckoned with. The once strong Spanish Empire, with ties with other strong power, crumbles in front of the Comanche. But in all of this, art was made to commemorate the tragedy of the Spanish. Father Terrero's wealthy cousin commissioned a painting called Massacre at the San Saba Mission to immortalize the fateful day. It became the oldest representation of historic events in Texas. In the end, Comanche skilled warriors were proven too powerful for the Spanish settlers. In the ever-growing world, the story of the Comanche Empire stood as an architect of change. Their legacy is etched in the red earth of their homeland. The time of Spanish dominance decreased and made way for a tomorrow shaped by the indomitable spirit of the Comanche. In the echoes of the Comanche triumph, what historical mysteries do you believe still linger, waiting to be unraveled? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.